Listen, I need y'all to sit with me for a second and really hear this. Life's too short to be caught up with people who don't genuinely care about your growth, your peace, or your bag. You've got dreams to chase, mountains to climb, and visions to manifest. And the people you allow around you, they either lift you or they drain you. There's no in between. I've seen it over and over, and I've lived it. Some people in your circle, but they don't really care about you. They're there for convenience or what you can give them, not because they're rooting for your greatness. So today I want to break down 4 behaviors of people who don't care about you, so you can recognize them and protect your energy. The first thing you got to pay attention to is how people reach out to you. Life teaches you real quick that not everybody in your circle has your best interest at heart. Some folks only show up when it's convenient for them, when they need something from you, when there's something to gain. And that's a subtle type of poison in your life if you don't recognize it early. These are the people who slide into your DMs when they need cash, a ride, advice, or some favor that costs you your time, your energy, or your peace. And that's why the first thing to look for is patterns, because patterns never lie. If someone consistently only contacts you when there's a benefit to be had, that's a clear sign of where they're coming from. I remember a friend I used to run with. We grew up in the same neighborhood, shared the same dreams, and had the same hustle. When he needed something, let's say a ride across town or a little help covering bills, he was on my line fast, always quick to hit me up. But when the tables turned, when I was going through my own struggle, when life knocked me down and I needed someone to just check in or offer some support, that same line went silent. No calls, no messages, no concern. And that moment hit me harder than any loss, because it wasn't a loud betrayal. It was quiet, subtle, a demonstration of true colors without a word being spoken. That's when I realized something fundamental. It wasn't friendship, it was convenience. That's the kind of energy that can waste your time and your heart if you don't see it coming. People like that are calculating, but not in a way that benefits your growth. They calculate based on what they can take, not what they can give, not on how they can contribute to your vision. And here's the thing. Sometimes the way they operate is so disguised that it almost feels normal. They'll laugh with you, they'll share moments with you, and in the midst of that, they're keeping a mental tally of what you owe them or what you can do for them. But genuine people don't operate like that. People who care about you show up in your life without strings attached. They invest when the season is good, when you're winning, and they invest when the season is rough, when you're losing. They know that relationships are not a transaction, they're an investment. And that investment isn't measured by what they can get, it's measured by how they can support, uplift, and stand by you. I want you to think about the people around you for a second. Think about who calls just to talk. Who checks in without expecting anything in return? Who shows up when they know you're dealing with something heavy? Those are the people worth holding on to. And when you start to see that pattern of people only reaching out during their time of need, it's not about being bitter. It's about being aware. Awareness protects your energy. Awareness helps you make the decisions that allow you to grow without unnecessary drain. There's another layer to this that most people miss. The reason why this behavior hurts so much is because it disguises itself as friendship. It disguises itself as connection, as love, as care, and that's why you feel used before you even fully realize it. You see, the human brain is wired to bond, to form connections, to trust. When someone takes advantage of that, when they manipulate that natural inclination, it creates not just a moment of disappointment, it creates a lesson that sticks with you if you let it. And life is full of those lessons, repeated in different forms until you finally learn them. One day you'll start noticing it right away, the way someone only contacts you when there's something to be gained. And the freedom that comes from that realization is real. I've learned that protecting your energy isn't about cutting people off unnecessarily, it's about discerning. It's about being honest with yourself about who's truly there for you. And you'll notice that the people who are real don't need an agenda. They don't need a reason to check in. They don't show up with an expectation or a hidden motive. They just show up. And when they show up, you feel it. It's subtle, but it's powerful. It's different than the ones who only appear in a moment of convenience. The truth is, everybody's got a circle, and everybody's got someone trying to use them, trying to get something. That's life. That's the streets. That's human nature. But recognizing the difference is what separates people who grow and thrive from people who stagnate in frustration and betrayal. You have to watch, listen, and feel the energy of the people around you. If their presence leaves you feeling drained, obligated, or like you're being measured for what you can provide, then you're dealing with convenience, not care. That's not love. That's not friendship. It's temporary and conditional energy, and it has no place in your permanent circle. And here's the most powerful part of realizing this. Once you see it, you free yourself. You free yourself from chasing after people who will never value your time. You free yourself from explaining yourself to people who will never understand your grind. You free yourself from the frustration of expecting support where there never will be support. And that freedom is the kind of clarity that allows you to focus on your vision, your dreams, and the people who genuinely ride with you. I want you to remember this too. Sometimes the people who don't reach out when you need them the most will continue to try to make it seem like they care in other ways, but don't be fooled. The measure of care isn't in what someone says, it's in what they consistently do. If someone is only present at times of their convenience, that's a reflection of their character, not yours. You don't owe anyone your energy just because they're comfortable taking it. You owe yourself protection. You owe yourself the ability to surround yourself with people who lift you, who invest in you, and who don't just see you as a resource to be tapped. And this isn't just about personal relationships. It shows up in business too. You'll notice clients, partners, or associates who only hit you up when they need a favor, a connection, or your skill, but disappear when it's time to collaborate or support your vision. And life is easier when you can see that pattern early. It allows you to set boundaries without guilt and prioritize your energy for the people and projects that actually matter. At the end of the day, the people who reach out only when they need something are giving you a valuable lesson. They're teaching you the difference between convenience and commitment. They're teaching you the value of your own time and energy. They're teaching you that care cannot be manufactured when it's absent. And the sooner you recognize that, the sooner you start to attract people who are genuinely about growth, loyalty, and mutual support. So the next time someone hits you up, ask yourself, is this about them or is this about us? Is this about convenience or is this about care? Your life, your energy, your peace, those aren't negotiable. Don't mistake attention for investment, and don't confuse presence with loyalty. Real people invest consistently without calculating the return, without measuring how much you can provide. And those are the people worth keeping close because they see your value even when you can't see it yourself. This one hits deep, and it's one of those things that people don't always see until they're standing in the middle of it. People who don't care about you will not celebrate your wins. They will minimize them, downplay them, or even worse, react with jealousy. When you accomplish something big, you hit a milestone, you level up in life, and instead of encouragement, instead of someone being genuinely happy for you, you get a shrug, a silence that speaks louder than words, or sometimes a subtle jab hidden in their words. And that hurt cuts differently because you don't expect it. You expect the people around you, the ones who claim to care, to lift you up, to cheer you on, to celebrate the hard work that got you there. But what you get instead is a mirror showing you the absence of real support. Think about it for a second. Imagine dropping a big project at work, finally getting that promotion, or hitting a personal milestone you've been grinding toward for years. You're proud, you're excited, and you share with people you thought would share your joy. And instead of feeling that energy come back to you, you feel a coldness, an emptiness, or even a quiet resentment. That is a powerful indicator of who genuinely cares and who's just along for the surface level moment. People who don't care about you see your success as a threat, not a triumph. They see your victory as a comparison to their own life, a reflection of what they don't have, rather than an inspiration or a reason to celebrate with you. I've seen it over and over. I remember seeing friends hit massive milestones, entrepreneurs making their first million, creators dropping their first major project, people finally breaking free from a cycle they've been stuck in for years. The people who really loved them were there, cheering on the sidelines, sending messages of congratulations, showing up in ways that weren't loud but deeply felt. The energy from those people was electric because it was authentic, it was uncalculating, it wasn't conditional. And then there were the others, the ones who didn't say anything, the ones who disappeared, the ones who found a way to subtly throw shade or make a comment that made you question if your joy was allowed. That contrast is sharp, and it hits hard when you realize who's really in your corner. It's easy to get caught up in the moment and feel hurt, frustrated, or even angry. But that's because our human nature wants to believe that everyone around us is rooting for our success. We want our people to be happy for us, to celebrate with us, to see the effort we put in and recognize it. And when that doesn't happen, it's not about you. It's about them. People who can't celebrate your wins are often people struggling with themselves, with envy, with insecurity, or with a mindset that only allows them to focus on their own scarcity rather than abundance. And the lesson here is powerful. Your energy is too valuable to waste on people who can't be happy for you, your growth, your victories, your milestones. They deserve to be celebrated by those who are capable of celebration, not minimized by those who aren't. You also have to realize that real friendship and real care don't compete with your success, they amplify it. Real friends don't look at your wins and feel threatened. They see it as a shared victory because they understand the grind, the sacrifice, and the hustle it takes to get there. They celebrate you, knowing that your success doesn't take away from theirs, but rather it raises the standard, it shows what's possible, it inspires them to do more in their own life. That kind of energy is rare, but it's the kind of energy you need around you if you want to rise. One thing I've noticed over time is that when people don't celebrate your victories, it's not always obvious at first. Sometimes it's subtle. It's a comment that seems harmless, a laugh that doesn't reach their eyes, a tone that carries a little edge. And sometimes it's absence. Absence can be louder than words. You put in the work, you achieve something great, and the people who should be there, the people you thought were riding with you, aren't there at all. And that absence teaches you something important. It teaches you to recognize patterns. It teaches you to read between the lines. It teaches you who's there for convenience, who's there for surface level appearances, and who's there because they actually care about your journey. I remember one story about a friend of mine, an artist who had been grinding for years, putting in the late nights, the early mornings, sacrificing time, sleep, and comfort to create his vision. The day he finally released a project that blew up, some of the same people who had been around during the early hustle didn't even reach out. They were quiet, absent, and different. But then there were a few others who had been quiet through the grind, watching, observing, waiting to see him shine. And those were the ones sending messages, posting support, celebrating his hard work without expecting anything in return. That contrast taught him more about loyalty, care, and energy than any lecture ever could. It taught him to invest in the right people and let go of the rest. And it's not just personal relationships. This shows up in business and communities and collaborations. When you accomplish something big, people who truly care want to amplify it, not downplay it. They understand that your success is not a threat. It's a reflection of what's possible. And it's a reason to celebrate the grind, the hustle, the journey that got you there. The people who celebrate you don't compete. They participate in your energy. They become part of the momentum, part of the narrative of growth and triumph. That kind of energy is contagious. That kind of energy motivates you to keep going, to aim higher, to push further, because you know you're not alone and your efforts are appreciated. It's important to remember that jealousy or downplaying your victories often comes from a place of insecurity, not from a reflection of your worth. Someone else's inability to celebrate you does not diminish your success, your effort, or your value. And understanding that difference is liberating. You stop trying to force validation from people who can't give it, and you start focusing on the ones who genuinely root for you. You start building circles that are constructive, supportive, and real. You start attracting people who want to see your wins because they know how hard you work for them, and they know how it feels to push past the obstacles that life throws in your way. So whenever you achieve something, look closely at the people around you. Notice who's there, who's cheering, who's showing genuine excitement, and who's quiet, distant, or critical. Those observations aren't just social, they're lessons and they're guidance. They teach you about loyalty, authenticity, and energy. They help you invest your time and love in the right circles, and they remind you that your growth and your wins are sacred, and they deserve to be celebrated by those who understand the journey, the sacrifice, and the grind it took to get there. Real friends, real people who care, understand that celebrating your success doesn't take away from theirs, it multiplies it. They know that your energy, your ambition, and your victories are part of a bigger cycle of abundance, not competition. That's why they cheer. That's why they uplift. That's why they amplify your wins instead of shrinking them. And the people who can't do that, you have to let them go. Not out of hate, but out of respect for your own energy, your own peace, and your own vision. It's easy to be around people when everything is smooth, when the vibes are good, when money is flowing and life feels like it's cooperating. That's the season when everyone wants to be your friend, when it's easy to show up, when there's nothing heavy pressing down on your shoulders. But life doesn't stay easy forever. Bills pile up, dreams feel distant, opportunities don't come as fast as you want them to, and sometimes heartbreak hits like a truck you didn't see coming. And in those moments, you start to see the real faces of the people around you. The people who don't care, they fade, they disappear, they make themselves scarce, and their absence speaks louder than any words ever could. I remember watching this unfold in my own life, and I want to be real with you. It stings. It hurts to see people you've called friends, people you've shared moments with, people you thought would ride with you through anything, suddenly nowhere to be found. You start questioning yourself. Was I too much? Did I do something wrong? And the truth is, their absence isn't about you. It's about them. It's about the kind of person they are when there's no comfort, when there's no benefit, when supporting you requires effort, sacrifice, or consistency. Some people only show up when it's easy. They only show up when it's convenient for them. And that's not loyalty. That's convenience disguised as care. Let me tell you a story. A cousin of mine went through one of the hardest times of her life. She had health issues she was trying to manage while juggling bills, responsibilities, and the daily grind. Things were stacking against her and the stress was real. She expected her circle, the people she thought were close to her, to be there in some way, even just to check in. But almost immediately, people started fading. Messages went unanswered. Calls were ignored. Invitations disappeared. The ones she thought would stand by her quietly slipped out of her life. And that's when she realized something fundamental. Not everyone who claims to care actually does. But the difference, the lesson in all of that, is in the people who did show up. The people who truly loved her didn't wait for a reason. They didn't wait for her to ask for help. They just showed up. They brought food, they offered support, they called without prompting, they reminded her that she wasn't alone. That kind of loyalty isn't loud. It doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need recognition, but it's powerful because it's consistent, especially when it's inconvenient. And that's what separates those who care from those who don't. Consistency is the proof of love and care. Convenience is the proof of self-interest. Life has a way of revealing the truth. When times are good, it's hard to tell who's there for you because everyone is showing up. It's easy. But when the pressure hits, the hardships arrive, the grind gets tough, the bills stack up, and the nights feel longer than the days, that's when the real energy of the people around you becomes visible. Those who don't care will disappear because supporting you in your struggle requires effort. And effort is something they are not willing to give. Those who truly care will rise to the occasion because their loyalty isn't dependent on convenience. Their care isn't conditional. They understand that life is cyclical. Their struggles are temporary, and that being there in the hard times is what strengthens bonds and builds trust. I've seen this happen with people I've worked with, people I've grown up around, people I've called friends. When the struggle hits, the obstacles feel insurmountable and the grind tests your patience. Those who aren't invested in your well-being quietly retreat. They may offer excuses or disappear silently, but you can feel it. You feel the space they leave behind, the lack of energy, the absence of encouragement. And that absence is a teacher if you let it be. It teaches you to recognize patterns, to value your energy, and to prioritize relationships with people who will actually ride with you no matter the season. The hardest part is that when people disappear, it can shake your faith in relationships. It can make you question if loyalty and care still exist in the world. But it's in those moments that you learn to identify who's genuine and who's temporary. You learn that loyalty isn't loud, it's consistent. It doesn't make a scene, it doesn't need to be announced. Real care manifests in actions when no one is looking, when showing up is inconvenient, when supporting someone is harder than it looks. That's the energy you want around you because those are people who actually build, elevate, and protect you. I've also learned that when people disappear, it creates a space for growth and reflection. It forces you to rely on yourself, to trust your own grind, and to strengthen your own resilience. It teaches you that you can survive and thrive even when the circle shrinks, because true strength comes from knowing that you are capable, even when support isn't visible. And while it's painful to see people you thought were close drift away, that absence ultimately clears the way for the people who are meant to stay, the people who are capable of loyalty, love, and care. It is another lesson in this too. People who disappear during hard times often have their own struggles. That doesn't excuse their absence, but it explains it. Some people can't give what they don't have. Some people can't rise to meet someone else's struggle because they're drowning in their own. Recognizing that doesn't make it hurt any less, but it allows you to stop taking it personally and start valuing yourself enough to protect your peace. And you start understanding that your circle should be composed of people who can both give and receive support, who can show up not just in the easy times, but when it's messy, complicated, and inconvenient. And you'll notice something else. The ones who truly care often do more than you expect. They don't wait for gratitude or acknowledgement. They don't make you ask for help. They just act. They understand that friendship, loyalty, and care are about presence, action, and consistency, not about appearances or convenience. Their love and support are quiet, steady, and unwavering, and that's the kind of energy that sustains you when life gets heavy. When you start to pay attention to who disappears during hard times, you'll also start to notice who sticks around. You'll start to value those people differently. You'll prioritize your energy differently. You'll learn that loyalty isn't measured by words, it's measured by action. And the peace that comes from surrounding yourself with people who actually care is priceless. It allows you to focus on your own growth, your own vision, and your own success without the distraction of fake support or conditional love. So next time life hits hard, when the bills pile up, the heartbreak comes, or the grind feels endless, look around. Pay attention to who disappears, yes, but also pay attention to who stays. Who reaches out, who quietly supports without being asked, who shows up even when it's inconvenient. That contrast is clarity. That contrast is wisdom. That contrast teaches you who's worthy of your time, your energy, and your love. Because loyalty isn't about comfort. Loyalty isn't about convenience. Loyalty is about showing up consistently when it matters the most. And that's the truth. The people who disappear during hard times are teaching you a lesson about yourself, about life, and about the energy you choose to keep around you. Their absence isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their limitations. And recognizing that is powerful because it allows you to make conscious choices about who you allow into your inner circle, who you invest in, and who you trust with your time and energy. Boundaries are how you protect your peace. That's something a lot of people don't realize until they're drained, stressed, and questioning why they feel so weighed down by others. Boundaries aren't walls meant to shut people out. They're lines drawn to safeguard your energy, your vision, your mental clarity, and your ability to grow. When someone doesn't respect your boundaries, it's one of the clearest signs that they don't care about you. They're not concerned with your peace. They're concerned with their own needs, desires, and convenience. People who don't care will constantly push, manipulate, or guilt you into doing things you're not comfortable with. And they do it so subtly sometimes that you don't notice at first. They make it feel like it's about caring, like it's about being helpful. But in reality, it's about control and self-interest. I've seen this in both business and personal life, and the patterns are the same. In business, people will ask to borrow money, not with the intention of paying it back, but because they see an opportunity to benefit from your resources without considering the impact on you. They'll try to borrow ideas or take credit for the work you've poured your soul into, acting like it's collaboration when it's really theft. They'll want to dictate your decisions, weigh in on your choices, and impose their opinions as if your life and your path should bend to their will. And when you say no, when you assert your boundary, when you protect your time, your money, or your energy, they act offended, distant, or even angry. That's not love, that's selfishness disguised as concern. That's someone who wants control without accountability, who wants access without respect, who wants benefit without empathy. The same dynamic shows up in personal relationships. Friends, family, or partners sometimes don't respect the limits you set. They push for your time when you've communicated that you need space. They guilt you for saying no to their requests. They expect you to prioritize them over your own well-being. And if you push back, if you stand firm, they might react with anger, passive aggression, or withdrawal. That's how you know the connection isn't built on mutual respect, it's built on entitlement. And life will teach you over and over that entitlement disguised as love is exhausting. It drains you, it distracts you, and it prevents you from growing into the person you're meant to become. Boundaries are also about self-respect. And when you enforce them, you're sending a message to yourself and to others that your energy, your time, and your peace are not negotiable. They're not up for debate. And when people push against that, it's a reflection of their character, not your worth. Someone who truly cares doesn't need to manipulate you or guilt you into action. They understand your limits, they respect your pace, and they support your choices, even when they don't fully understand them. They know that love and care don't come from control. They come from encouragement and support. I remember a time when someone close to me tried to push me into a decision that didn't feel right. They wanted me to invest time, energy, and resources into something that would have benefited them more than it benefited me. At first, I hesitated to say no because I didn't want to hurt the relationship or create tension. But the more I reflected, the more I realized that respecting my own boundaries was necessary for my growth and my peace. When I finally said no, their reaction was a mix of offense and distance. They acted like my refusal was a personal attack. That moment taught me an invaluable lesson. The people who truly care don't need to control you to feel connected. They respect the boundaries you set because they value your well-being. The ones who push back aren't invested in your peace. They're invested in their own comfort. Another thing to understand is that boundaries protect your vision, your dreams, your goals, your future. These are sacred. And people who don't respect your boundaries often don't care about your vision. They're too busy trying to shape it to fit theirs, or too insecure to celebrate it. They'll pull on your time, your attention, or your focus to suit their own needs. And if you let them, they can subtly steal pieces of your energy, leaving you frustrated, distracted, and stagnant. Real care means stepping aside when necessary, offering support without intrusion, and allowing you to move toward your goals without guilt or interference. Boundaries also serve as a test of loyalty and respect. They reveal the quality of relationships in a way that's undeniable. Someone who respects your boundaries isn't offended when you say no. They don't take it personally. They don't manipulate or guilt you. Instead, they understand that your limits are part of who you are, and they honor that because they value the person you're becoming. On the other hand, people who disregard your boundaries reveal themselves through every action and every reaction. They're showing you quietly but clearly that their care is conditional, that their attachment to you depends on access and control, not genuine respect or love. It's also important to realize that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. It's a statement that you won't allow anyone to deplete your energy, distract you from your path, or compromise your peace for their own benefit. You're declaring that your life, your vision, and your well-being are priorities, and that anyone who wishes to be part of your circle must operate with respect, consideration, and integrity. And when people try to push past those limits, you learn more about who they are than you ever could from words alone. Actions reveal character. Disrespect reveals truth. Boundaries are a mirror. It shows you who belongs in your life and who doesn't. In both personal life and business, respecting boundaries is a way to cultivate meaningful, sustainable relationships. Real love and care don't demand, they support. They don't pressure, they encourage. They don't manipulate, they empower. And when you surround yourself with people who operate from that energy, life becomes less about defense and more about growth. You're able to focus on your goals, your health, your relationships, and your peace without constantly negotiating your worth or defending your choices. I've also learned that enforcing boundaries can be uncomfortable at first. People may push, question, or test you. They may react with disappointment or guilt tripping. But that's when you realize who truly values your presence versus who only values your compliance. It's a filter, a natural process of refining your circle to include people who are capable of care, loyalty, and respect. The discomfort of enforcing boundaries is temporary. The clarity it brings is permanent. And over time, you attract people who respect your space, who celebrate your decisions, who support your growth without imposing, and who recognize that peace and love go hand in hand. So every time someone pushes against your boundaries, every time someone tries to guilt you, manipulate you, or take advantage of your willingness to give, remember this: your peace is sacred, your energy is priceless. And real care never demands, it never manipulates, it never disrespects, it supports, uplifts, and amplifies. And the people who understand that are the people who will stand by you consistently through your growth, your struggles, and your victories. Boundaries are more than rules. They are a reflection of self-respect, self-love, and self-awareness. They're a measure of how much you value yourself and your life. And the moment you enforce them without apology, without fear, and without guilt, you begin to attract the energy, relationships, and support that align with your vision. You begin to operate in a space where respect is mutual, care is genuine, and loyalty is consistent. That's the kind of energy that allows you to thrive, to grow, and to live a life that's aligned with your purpose, your values, and your peace. Now this one's sneaky, and it often hits you when you least expect it. People who don't care about you will gossip, spread rumors, talk down on your efforts, or try to undermine your character when you're not around. And the worst part is, they do it with a smile or a laugh in front of you sometimes, making it hard to recognize until you start noticing the patterns. Gossip is one of those things that can quietly erode your peace, your energy, and your confidence if you allow it to. It's a subtle attack, a quiet way to make themselves feel powerful without actually building anything, without contributing to your life, without lifting themselves up in a meaningful way. They try to make themselves feel bigger by making you feel smaller, and often it takes a toll before you realize what's happening. I've seen it too many times. I've seen people talk about someone's hustle behind their back, whispering doubts about whether they're capable or questioning the choices they're making. I've watched friends in business circles gossip about progress, success, or opportunities, as if diminishing someone else's efforts could somehow elevate their own. And it's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. A passing comment, a laugh, a sideways glance. But over time, these small moments accumulate and they weigh on you if you let. The thing about gossip is that it's often rooted in insecurity. Research and real-life experience both show that people who engage in negative social behavior, like talking behind someone's back, are usually struggling with their own self-worth. They're looking for validation, a sense of control, or a way to feel better about themselves by taking aim at someone else. That doesn't make it okay, but it does help you understand it. And more importantly, detach from it. When someone spreads rumors or talks down on your efforts, it's not a reflection of your value, your skill, or your integrity. It's a reflection of their lack, their fear, or their inability to handle their own growth. Their words are a mirror to their insecurities, not a judgment of your life. I remember a friend who had just started a small business. She was grinding day and night, putting her heart into building something from nothing. She shared her journey with a few people she trusted, thinking they would encourage her. Instead, she found herself hearing that some of those same people were downplaying her work behind her back, spreading doubts and trying to make others question her capability. When she first heard about it, it hurt. It felt like a betrayal, a stab from someone she thought cared. But when she took a step back and observed, she realized that it wasn't about her. It was about them. They were insecure about their own paths, and they were trying to measure her success against their fear of not moving fast enough, not having enough, or not being recognized. Once she saw that, the steam faded, and she was able to protect herself and her energy rather than letting it derail her focus. Gossip is also dangerous because it can affect your reputation if you're not careful. People who talk behind your back often aim to manipulate perception to shape the narrative about you in ways that benefit them or satisfy their insecurities. But here's the truth. The people who really matter, those who have been with you through the grind, the ones who understand your character, your work ethic, and your integrity, will see through it. The people who care will recognize your truth, not the story someone else is spinning. And once you realize that, you start to separate your energy from the opinions of those who have nothing invested in your growth. You start to focus on the people who actually contribute, support, and uplift you rather than those who try to tear you down in private. One thing I've learned is that gossip often comes from a place of envy. When people are struggling with their own goals, when they feel like they're not achieving what they should be, they sometimes project that frustration onto you. Your successes, your drive, your discipline, everything that represents growth and progress can feel like a threat to someone who isn't on their own path. And instead of working on their own climb, they try to slow you down, to diminish your shine, or to make your accomplishments seem less than they are. That's why it's so important to observe and protect yourself. Protect your energy, your focus, and your peace. Don't engage in battles that aren't yours. Don't try to defend yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding or undermining you. Your silence, your discipline, and your continued growth are the best response. It's also important to note that gossip can sometimes come from people who are close to you. Family members, old friends, or colleagues who know your journey may be the ones who talk behind your back. And that's why discernment is key. Observe how people speak about others when you're not around, and take note of their behavior. Because if someone is willing to diminish someone else's effort, there's a high likelihood they will do the same to you when the opportunity arises. Protect yourself by recognizing patterns, by setting boundaries, and by choosing to distance yourself from energy that doesn't build you up. And while gossip can sting, it also has the power to teach you. It shows you who doesn't have your back, who's not invested in your growth, and who is operating from scarcity rather than abundance. It forces you to reevaluate your circle and to make conscious decisions about where your energy goes. It forces you to seek out people who contribute positively, who celebrate your wins, who offer honest feedback without undermining you, and who operate with integrity. Because your time, your energy, and your peace are priceless, and they deserve to be surrounded by people who honor that. I've learned that the best way to handle gossip is with focus and composure. Keep grinding, keep building, keep showing up for yourself. When people talk behind your back, it loses power when you refuse to let it distract you. Your success, your integrity, and your consistency will speak louder than any room ever could. And over time, those who are spreading negativity will fade out of your life because they aren't invested in real relationships. They were invested in ego and insecurity. And that's not your fight. Your fight is with your dreams, your goals, your vision, and the people who are actually supporting you along the way. At the end of the day, gossip is a reflection of the gossiper, not your worth. The energy you give to others, the integrity with which you operate, and the focus you maintain are what matter most. Protect your peace. Observe the behavior around you and distance yourself from energy that doesn't contribute positively to your life. When you do that, you create space for real, supportive, and uplifting relationships. And you cultivate a circle where care, loyalty, and honesty are valued. And that's the environment that allows you to thrive. People who gossip or talk behind your back are teaching you lessons if you pay attention. They show you where your energy should not go. They reveal who isn't aligned with your growth. And they remind you that not everyone is meant to be part of your journey. And when you internalize that lesson, when you act with awareness, you protect your peace and position yourself to move forward without unnecessary friction. Your time is too precious, your energy too valuable, and your vision too important to be slowed down by people who operate from insecurity and ego rather than care and integrity. Lastly, let's talk about energy, because that's what life really comes down to. What and who you allow in your energy field. Energy isn't just some abstract concept, it's the currency of your life. It's the thing that fuels your drive, your creativity, your focus, and your spirit. You can have all the money in the world, all the opportunities, and all the resources, but if your energy is constantly being drained by people who don't care, none of that matters. That's why paying attention to how you feel around people is so important. When you're with someone, do you leave the interaction feeling inspired, motivated, and uplifted? Or do you feel drained, frustrated, anxious, or heavy? That difference isn't subtle. It's life-changing. People who don't care about you will drain your energy because they're not invested in your growth or your well-being. They take without giving. They criticize without building, and they pull without pushing. I remember a mentor once told me energy is currency protected like money, and at the time I didn't fully grasp how true that was. But life taught me quickly. People who are negative, uncaring, or unsupportive don't just hurt your feelings, they stunt your progress. They make you second guess yourself. They cloud your judgment and they weigh down your spirit. Over time, that energy drain can become toxic, keeping you from reaching your full potential, from thinking clearly, and from trusting your own intuition. It's subtle at first, small frustrations, minor annoyances, but if left unchecked, it becomes a constant drag that prevents you from moving forward. Think about the people you spend the most time with. Are they elevating you or are they holding you back? Are they encouraging your vision or are they sowing doubt? Are they celebrating your victories or are they minimizing your wins? The ones who drain your energy often do it without malice. They may not even realize it, but the impact is the same. Every interaction leaves you a little more depleted, a little less motivated, and a little more hesitant to chase your dreams. On the other hand, the people who build you up, who genuinely care, make you feel lighter, stronger, and capable of achieving more than you thought possible. They spark your flame, not snuff it out. I remember a friend I had in business. We used to brainstorm, share ideas, and talk about future plans. At first, it felt good. They seemed supportive, interested in the vision, and full of energy. But over time, I realized that after every interaction, I felt drained. My ideas were dismissed, my energy was criticized, and I started to second guess my own instincts. It wasn't intentional, and they probably didn't even notice, but the effect was clear. My energy was being sapped. I had to make a conscious choice to step back, to limit interactions, and to protect my energy. Once I did, I noticed an immediate shift. I felt lighter, sharper, and more capable of focusing on the people and projects that mattered. The danger of energy drain is that it's cumulative. It's not always obvious in the moment, but over weeks, months, or years, it accumulates like debt. You start feeling anxious, frustrated, and exhausted without a clear reason. Your motivation dwindles, your confidence wavers. You begin to question your decisions and your path. And when you finally realize what's happening, you see, it's not the challenges of life that are the problem. It's the people whose energy you're absorbing, who are not contributing to your growth, and who don't actually care about your journey. That realization is both painful and liberating because it gives you the power to make a change. Protecting your energy is a skill, and it starts with awareness. Awareness of who leaves you inspired versus who leaves you depleted. Awareness of who encourages your vision versus who distracts or discourages you. Awareness of who celebrates your victories versus who diminishes them. And awareness of who adds value to your life versus who simply takes from it. Once you develop that awareness, you start making conscious choices about who and what you allow into your space. You start prioritizing people who build you up, who challenge you in a healthy way, and who support your growth even when it's inconvenient. I want you to think about your circle for a moment. Who are the people that light up your life, that push you to be better, that make you feel capable of achieving your dreams? And who are the ones who leave you frustrated, anxious, or doubting yourself? That distinction is critical because your energy is finite